I have to say, Sword and Shield introduced one of the best casts of character to this series with the entry. There is so much personality in the designs alone, and I feel that you can really connect and relate to the citizens of Galar. I mean, just take a look at Bald Guy. He's easily one of the most personable and beloved characters in the series as a whole already, and all he does is dance and gives you different kinds of Pokeballs. But this video isn't talking about the less important NPCs in the game. No, as you can tell, we're going to be talking about the gym leaders of the Galar region and ranking them from worst to best. Now this is definitely going to be more of a personal ranking, as I will be talking about things that I like and dislike about the character specifically, but I have to mention that I will be talking about some in-game aspects that influence my decision to a certain degree, like how difficult they actually are and their backgrounds. If you all do want me to rank them weaker to harder in the future though, be sure to let me know in the comment section. Alright, with all that being said, let's rank these high-ranking adversaries of Galar. Coincidentally, to start off this list, we have the first gym leader, Milo, as the worst gym leader. Now I need to say that I don't hate Milo by any means. I just think out of the 10 given gym leaders, he's the worst. So first, let's talk about his positives. He has a very fun and unique design compared to a lot of characters introduced in the Galar region. He's absolutely shredded, yet is somehow a gentle person. Also, his gym challenge is decently fun too. Sure, it's easy and not much thought really has gone into it, but it's good fun in my opinion. But that's kind of where the positives end, because once you actually face off against him, it's just kind of a mediocre feeling. I get that he's the first gym leader, but come on. Only 2 Pokemon with 3 moves each, from the same line of Pokemon, and he only Dynamaxes? That's just such a yikes for me. There's just not that much exciting things about Milo, which is a real shame, because I think he could have easily been really interesting, but I won't hold it against him too much. He's only the first gym leader after all. Coming right after Milo, we have a character that was originally at the bottom of the list, but got bumped up for very minor reasons. That person is a Dark-type gym leader, Pierce. Now don't get me wrong, I like the idea of Pierce's character for sure, but objectively speaking, he's kind of the worst. He's the only gym leader that doesn't Dynamax his Pokemon, making him one of the easier opponents to deal with. His gym is located in one of the most boring locations of the entire Galar region, and don't even get me started with his mime singing. The guy just looks like he's miserable a lot, which can definitely be fitting for a Dark-type specialist, but it really makes him out to be more of a meme than anything. So with all that being said, why isn't Pierce at the bottom? Well, simply put, I don't think all of these negative aspects about Pierce inherently makes him the worst. The way I see it, there's so much personality and believability in a character so bad that you just can't help but to like them. It's kind of like how a pug is so ugly it's cute. Pierce might be a flawed character, but he certainly can work his flaws to his advantage. Coming up next is probably my least favorite gym leader in the Galar region, being the Rock-type specialist, Gordy. Now from a gym leader perspective, he's really not that horrible. His team isn't too bad, but at the same time, it really isn't that hard to overcome either. From an in-game lore perspective, he's a popular trainer and pretty strong, and his gym challenge is decently fun too. These are some of the only reasons why I can't put him at the very bottom, but I so badly wanted to put him on the bottom for this reason alone. I hate his personality and design. He just feels too happy-go-lucky and is trying his hardest to be cool, and to me, he isn't.
His hair, whack. His gear, whack. His jewelry, whack. His foot stance, whack. The way that he talks, whack. The way that he doesn't even like to smile, whack.
I hate to put you so low, but at number 7, we have B. B is such a great character for many reasons. Design, personality, and your choice of Pokemon. One of the reasons I have her lower though, is because while her Pokemon choices are cool, it just feels too easy to beat due to the lack of variety. I did like her gym challenge as well. It was just pure fun with your typical battles thrown in between. I also have to praise her on having that amazing Gigantamax Machamp though. Seeing that thing for the first time was a real treat. Next up is Nessa, which honestly really depresses me because she is one of, if not my favorite gym leaders. But objectively, she isn't that amazing of a gym leader. Now she is certainly better than Milo, having 3 Pokemon with all 4 move slots filled, but she's very much an early game gym leader. Her gym challenge is definitely a little challenging, but it really isn't my favorite in the world. Also, there isn't much coverage on her part, but the biggest thing that annoys me and puts her a lot lower than I'd like is the fact she only uses a Dynamax Dreadnought instead of a Gigantamax one. It's just such a strange decision, especially because she uses one in the Championship Cup. But putting all that aside, I love her. She has such a strong personality and is just one of the most fun characters to interact with, hands down. At the number 5 spot, we have B's Shield counterpart, Alistair. Now I'm a bit more impartial to Alistair because he was the leader I took on in my initial first playthrough. But even from an unbiased standpoint, I can say that he is a better gym leader than B. He has a Mimikyu, Cursula, and a Gigantamax Gengar, which is a much more solid arsenal of Pokemon compared to his fighting specials counterpart. And while I think B has a stronger personality, I like the mysteriousness of Alistair a lot more. He's kind of scary and is just really interesting. Also, I gotta say, I like his pinball machine aesthetic a lot more than B's. A real small positive over hers, but still a positive nonetheless. There's a big difference between these two counterparts, but up next is the Ice-type specialist, Melanie. Now Alistair and Bea were pretty close together, so why are Gordy and Melanie so far apart? Well, for a few reasons. One, I just find her to be a much more likable character than Gordy. Two, she has a much better team than him, having the likes of Galarian Darmanitan, Ice-Q, and Gigantamax Lapras. Sure, it's not Gorilla Tactics Darmanitan, but it's still a Pokemon that you don't want to mess with in my opinion. But I think the biggest thing to mention is the fact that she's the only gym leader that has never lost to Raihan in a battle. Now, of course, he's primarily a Dragon-type specialist, so she definitely has a type advantage. But that is still quite the accomplishment. Lastly, I really loved her concept art photos, as it showed that she actually has quite a large family of 5 kids, which includes her Rock-type specialist son. I really loved the fact that despite them not being on speaking terms, she still supports him and was even the first person in his fan club. She's such a good mom. In our number 3 spot, we have a real OG being Opal. Now, Opal is not the hardest gym leaders by a long shot. 3 out of her 4 Pokemon don't even have all of their moves. Then when it comes to her gym challenge, it's really not special. Just your best guess at some questions followed by some battles. She also is kind of an oddball, which isn't really a bad thing, but she's not my favorite character to interact with all the time. But the reason why she is so high up on this list is because of how legendary she is. You find out from her league card that she's the oldest gym leader in the region and has been running the Ball and Leia Stadium for 70 years. This is an absolutely insane amount of time, and I don't really think there's another gym leader in the entire series that can compare to her on that front. And despite the fact that 75% of her Pokemon don't have a full moveset, she still does have some pretty powerful options on hand. Her Mawile and Togekiss are nothing to sneeze at. I just really feel that because she's been holding it down for so long, it would be disrespectful to put her any lower than this. Just shy of the number 1 spot, we have the Fire-type specialist, Kabu. Now, Kabu definitely deserves to be high up on the list, but I'm sure not many of you were expecting him to be this high up, which is fair. On the surface, Kabu might not seem like anything too special, but he's actually a pretty interesting guy. He's a trainer originally from the Hoenn region, which has made a lot of people speculate that he could possibly be related to Flannery in some way, which would be really cool. They both have that fiery spirit, but that does kind of feel like just a fire-type gym leader kind of trait, so that's not necessarily anything to go off of. But it is interesting to think about at the very least. Moving on to his gym challenge, it's definitely one of the more unique ones, having a mini Pokemon catching contest in order to face him. Then once you actually face him, you're up against a pretty decent Ninetales and Arcanine, followed by the Gigantamax Pokemon you'll face off against in the Galar League, being Centiskorch. My reaction to this was jaw-dropping, and I still feel this way. It's one of the coolest Gigantamax Pokemon, and it was amazing to be surprised with, as the previous 2 gym leaders only had Dynamax Pokemon. But the thing about Kabu that tops it all off is yet again the lore and story behind him. He had almost become champion multiple times, but unfortunately had failed. This caused him to try a new battling style, but still wasn't able to achieve his goal. His gym even dropped to the minor leagues, which I can only imagine would be devastating. But after having an amazing battle with the champion Leon, his spirit was revitalized and was able to work himself back up to where he is today. When I read that backstory, I developed so much respect for Kabu. His perseverance and determination to be one of the best is so admirable. To me, it was only natural to put him as one of the best. But even with all that said, there's still one leader who I think blows away all the competition. And of course, that person is none other than Hammerlock's self-taking pretty boy, the Dragon-type specialist, Raihan. Raihan is a very special gym leader. We see him right from the very start of the game, battling with Leon in an exhibition match. Being that he is still referred to as the undefeated champion, we can assume Raihan was not able to beat him there. We learn throughout the game that he and Leon were rivals when they were doing their gym challenge, and while he has come close to beating Leon, he was never able to. Despite this, he's regarded as the most skilled gym leader in the entire region, which we will talk about in just a second. More backstory behind the selfies. He apparently started taking them to remind himself of the pain of defeat. I'm assuming to encourage him to grow stronger, but that eventually led to him becoming the equivalent of Instagram famous in the Pokemon world, showing off his fashion sense and lifestyle in general. So with all that talked about, now we can get into the meat of why Raihan is so great. It's simply because of how unique he is to battle compared to the rest of the Galar gym leaders, and for that matter, most gym leaders in the entire series. Raihan chose the double battle format in his gym, which has only been done before with Tate and Liza, but Raihan actually does things from a competitive standpoint. Despite being a Dragon-type specialist, he has Gigalith and Sandaconda to help set up conditions, Sand Tomb on Gigalith, and the Sand Pit ability on Sandaconda to set up Sandstorm. He also will set up field conditions with Gigalith using Stealth Rock, which really shocked me when I first saw it. Then for power, he has Flygon and Duraludon, both of which have great coverage moves for Pokemon that can give them the business. Honestly, Raihan's match was definitely one of the toughest ones throughout the whole game. I could only imagine how difficult it would have been with a full team of 6 and items on them. Raihan is no joke. But more than that, Raihan is awesome simply for the fact that his battling style is one that could teach a lot of younger players how to play in the competitive scene, which is something Game Freak was clearly pushing for this gen. I really respect that endeavor, and to me, it firmly places Raihan as the best gym leader in Sword and Shield. Well, that wraps up this ranking of the Sword and Shield gym leaders from worst to best. It was really fun to come up with this list because more than anything, I got to talk about why I love some of these characters so much. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I really believe Sword and Shield brought to this series one of the best casts of characters, not only in the main character department, but with some of the less important NPCs as well. And the gym leaders were no exception. They breathed life into the games and really made me like every last one of them. Whereas some games have such a forgettable gym leaders that I can't even determine whether I like them or not. But what do you all think? Did you enjoy my list? At the end of the day, I don't believe my list is definitely correct, since it's mostly opinion based, but I still hope you all enjoyed it nonetheless. Also, put your list in the comments below. I would really love to read some of the reasons why certain characters are your favorites. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on, that way you never miss an upload. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch where I stream a lot of Pokemon content and all kinds of other Nintendo content like Zelda, Fire Emblem, and much more. Also, I've been reviewing every episode of My Hero Academia Season 4 over on MysticSage, so head over there if you're into that too. I would love that a lot. Want to support me further in game call perks? Check out my Patreon. Daniel Leone, Lady Crimson, Memory Martin, The Lazy Leo, Matthew Young, Awesome Lego, Jarrett Weiss Austin, Sodden Grider, Nigma97, and Kermit117 did, and I want to thank them personally for going above and beyond. It means the world to me. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mr. Gumbrand, and I will see you in the future for more awesome Pokemon content.